Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.
All right. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I'm here in effect with somebody that known for a long time. He's actually in the friend circle for real. So we hang out, his crew, my crew, our crew. And when I say crew, meaning if you see me out and about around Detroit, possibly other cities or something, it is not far-fetched to see me with Mr. Jessup. I've been doing this since 14. He came on for a brief stint when we did something with Bridge Detroit, but this is the full Brandon Jessup story on Detroit is Different. It's
gonna be fun today.
Mr. Jessup, how you feeling?
Oh man, I'm good, man. How you doing today, bro?
Oh man, everything is cool. Everything is cool, man. So this happens to be Martin Luther King Day. You know, years back we would be at some type of event, some march, some rally. Now we podcasting, and it's other soldiers out there putting in that work, man.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting too, man. Just coming in here today and just thinking about you know, folks always talk about technology and how often it clashes with our community. You know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, half the folks that we hear about, MLK Day is the opening of Black History Month for me, right? So I give it about 45 days.
I like it already.
You know what I'm saying? So opening in that space, you know what I'm saying, you start hearing about this struggle socially and for economic advancement, right? But most of the people you hear about when you talk about inventions are either abolitionists, right, or inventors, right? All through Black History Month, right?
You got
George
that
Washington Carver, stuff like that. So, just opening up there, you know what I'm saying? So much of our existence in this country is about innovation and pushing, you know what I'm saying, this country to do more and be better. So, yeah, man, that's where we always been at, man. Matter of fact, you talk about circles coming together. Shoot, man, we was in a church basement one day.
Yeah.
Around one of them MLKs, right?
A very classic, so many different discussions, topics, and then also it's one of those things I used to say it so much back in 2006, 7, 8, 9. I'm yo, this is kind of how those days in Harlem used to be. We're interacting with one another, and we definitely cross paths less because of work, family, schedules, and everything, but a strong foundation of a lot of us challenging our thoughts, our ideas, our process.
Man.
So much of where we're at now dealt with a lot of the seeds we planted before, even though we're still young, but we've been in the mix for a minute.
No, bro, Detroit is Different is a full manifestation of half of the stuff we was talking about, dog.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Remember we was talking about all the streaming, right? And how to monetize streaming and content creators and how to hold on, wait, so much of what you doing right now, bro, is 100% full manifestation.
Respect. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And I always would think about a lot of our conversations, even the conversations I had now, but especially then, a guy, me just being in business and nonprofits and stuff like that, and you being in business, right? You know what I'm saying? And dealing with so much community space and then being an artist and all of that. And now, not only are you only just an artist, bro, but you own the land, you own the real estate, you know what I'm saying? And you're an advocate in your own space. We was talking about what's going on at the house, you know what I'm saying?
So people can kind of understand this, and we're going to definitely get into that, just about you need a social circle where you can definitely be comfortable and be who you are, but you also need one that challenges you to pull more from you. Because if you're running with a pack of people that's not pushing you to what the next level is,
right.
I feel as though I would not be able to move forward. I would be good with where I'm at. So speaking of where I'm at, let's go to your family story. And I know a little bit of it, but now we about to open up everything.
All right.
What brought your people to the D?
Well, a couple things all right. So for me, it's gonna be 3 families in this blend, right? You got the Skinners, right, and then you got the Arnolds, and then you got the Jessups, and then you got the Tuggles. Okay. So the Jessups. And the Tuggles both, that's my patriarchs, right? Got two dads, you know what I'm saying, with a blended family, whatever. Both of them came up here in the 60s, you know what I'm saying, to find work. So Tommy Jessup.
Pre-rebellion, post-rebellion.
Pre-rebellion. So Tommy Jessup came up from Tennessee, from Kentucky, in 60, I believe.
Okay.
And John Tuggle.
Pre-Motown. He was here with Jackie Wilson days.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, pretty early. And John Tuggle came up from Tennessee, you know what I'm saying, in 62, and then came back in 66. So he was fired. So it's funny. So my dad told about the story about when he got fired from Chrysler. So man, he was just like, yo, I couldn't hack it. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't really had no education like that. They threw me on the dock, hard ass job. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they turn the cats in and out, like they still doing now. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so they've been here since then. Then my mama came up, Mary Tuggle. She came up in the late 60s, so she post-rebellion. So like she came up, man. She worked a lot of odd jobs. Like she was like the waitress, worked at the donut, the hostess shop, like all kinds of like just working around. So anyway, so then you got the Arnolds, right? So like I'm adopted, so that's the whole blended family thing coming in that space. So like I'm in New Orleans. My mom, Lisa Arnold, who's still in New Orleans, she passed a couple years ago. She was having a second boy, you know what I'm saying, in as many years. She like, I can't do this. My dad like slow motion in and out, whatever. So she knew Mary's sister. They all in New Orleans, and that's where all my family, really everybody, like on my mom's house, from New Orleans. So anyway, she was like, well, you know, if y'all trying to help me with this, because see, you gotta think, Louisiana don't really have, like at the time, a good like adoption and child welfare system. Okay, so you're not gonna give your child to the state of Louisiana, especially as a little black boy. Just don't chalk it up. You figure it out in the family, whatever. So then on top of that, I'm too much premature. So it's like it's a lot going on.
So a lot of support is needed.
A lot going on. So Tommy and Mary was married at that time. And they hopped on the plane, put some money together, hopped on the plane, came down. They ended up hanging out for about a month because I had to get the birth weight before they let me leave. And then, like, you know, they skipped a lot of stuff. Like, I wasn't even circumcised. It's like, it's a dip. You know what I'm saying? So, like, whatever. So, and that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? So, now I'm in Detroit, you know what I'm saying, in November 1981 or whatever. And, like, you know, life begins.
Wow. And that's like one of those things. Like, this my homie for real. And I never knew that in the origin story. So, in that connection, and then hanging out in New Orleans for a month, ain't nobody mad at that. But then, so basically, your earliest memories are all here in the D. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's Detroit for sure. Loyal to the soil.
Yeah, everything to Detroit. Yeah.
What neighborhood?
The Schoolcraft, man. Schoolcraft Greenfield, man. Like, so group on Prevost. As far as I can remember, all my buddies, you know what I'm saying, from 2 and up, that I know to this day still. Excuse me. They all, you know what I'm saying, from that neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's really where it's at. Like,
okay, and that's when I think Schoolcraft, Greenfield, that's one of those where I guess like some kids may have went to Red, some kids may have went to Cody.
Yeah.
Some kids may have possibly stretched and went all the way to Henry Ford or Cooley or something.
But see, you know, that's the interesting part of the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And middle class living. So you got to be really honest about a bunch of things. Mm-hmm. So like, my dad is not retired, but he's on medical leave from Ford. Tommy's on medical leave from Ford. He developed arthritis in his back and his wrist from painting. Mm-hmm. So, like, most of like that times, like my dad was on extra chill. So like,
okay.
So you remember like in Menace, like in the beginning when you know you had the card table and all the guys came over and they was kicking it. Yeah. So like that was my house. Like a lot of my dad's buddies from the plant kicked it at the house when they got off the shift. Mm-hmm. So it was always extra chill. And my dad drank extra, you know what I'm saying? So you got a lot of strain in the house. My mom, she didn't have her degree yet. She going back to school at Highland Park Community College to get her degree in nursing.
Wow.
So, like, it's a whole lot of, like, empowerment. I become to realize now, like, being older, but, like, as a kid, you just watching it just going on. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so, like, you got that, and then like a lot of the things in the early 80s, you know what I'm saying, that you seeing, like, so, you know, BMF is on TV now, but like I'm watching the crack that's pushing, you know, over there come through Schoolcraft and the boys I knew on the other side of the block.
So I do want to touch on that,
yeah.
But I do want to stop for a second and say, because it's in kind of in my footprint too, Highland Park Community College was like a hell of a program for so many nurses, and one of the most beautiful campuses, even to this day. Like, the structure still was so sturdily built that even, I want to say, it's been decades since it's been occupied, and it's still there.
Yeah, it's pristine.
But that place was one of the places that you just knew so many nurses, and it was bustling.
It was transitional, right? And that's the sign of like the power of community college. Like, everybody talk about like Wayne County Community College, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, Highland Park was that deal, bro. Like, and then, you know, it had the reputation because you knew what Highland Park was before. So, you know, for me, it was just my mama going to school. But then over time, you grow up a little bit, then you hear about like what the Highland Park meant to black people. So like my mom was down there because she knew what Highland Park was when she got up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to stay over there. And so it was like, okay, seeing a lot of that makes sense now. So anyway, so a lot of the guys that like my dad worked with, and they was, you know, free basing on the job. You know what I'm saying? To come home and free basing. So like they slowly losing their job. Cats dying from diabetes, heart attacks. Like one of my dad's like buddies was in the garage, like done. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you're seeing a lot of that. I'm going to school down the street at Dawson. So like everything's all good, you know, as far as like all of that. You got,
so you're watching, and you watch. Like, you're watching because I guess now I understand more of the concept of the party house, because the party house, like, you know, we've talked about this on Detroit is Different before. Like, I often tell people, you know, why like Snowfall are the introductory seasons, because, you know, people look at it like, why would you smoke crack? But at one point in time, cocaine was the party drug.
That's
and
right.
Crack was like the bargain version of cocaine, and that's why so many people were like, oh, it's probably like smoking weed, but nothing like smoking weed. But still, at the time as it was being introduced, that and free basing that's how people looked at it.
And you got to remember too, man, like, these guys ain't just guys who's working on the line. Yeah. You know, some of these guys, engineers, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, they skilled trades. So they when they walking in there, they was getting $30 an hour in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So they was making good money, you know, then. So it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you got a lot of disposable money, you know, and we talk about folks who losing property, homes up north. You know, it's not just like they just losing a little household and family. It's like things is really collapsing, destructing down. So, and then like you also, a lot of things that from the 70s, like I understood early, like the concept of loan sharking. You know what I'm saying? Like how a guy can leave work on Friday and not have his check Saturday morning. You know what I'm saying? That happened today. You know what I'm saying? So like, so it's a lot of stuff that a lot of folks just don't understand the plan. Then you also get the other part about just like pure organizing, right? And like your political values, right? Like, so 84, I'm watching Jesse Jackson at the primary. You know what I'm saying? Like, because my mom was a young volunteer in New Orleans with the Black Panthers. So Mary Tuggle, you know, later would be known to be Mary Tuggle because her and Tommy divorced, and then you know, Johnny got married, and then like now I moved from the west side of Detroit to Redford, right? So Detroit Public School, all that conversation, that's a wrap. It don't make no sense for me to hop on a joy road to go all the way down to Cass. Like, man, nobody doing all that.
Okay.
You asking to get your ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
What was Redford like around that time? Because I know what Redford's kind of like now, but around then, what was Redford like?
Well, it's the same people. same black people who, you know, working 80 hours every 2 weeks, whatever, you know, 100 hours every 2 weeks, whatever. You know, majority of them probably work at the plant, you know what I'm saying? Some are retired. More of them now are retired, but then it was a lot of them was white. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, all my neighbors was white then when I pulled up. My other homie was across the street. The few black folks that was over on the block, we all knew each other. We kicked it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't no secret that black folks was moving into the area. That's the early 90s. So the Catholic school over there, black, except for Detroit Catholic Central. And you notice Detroit Catholic Central ain't never been black. You know what I'm saying? It's always been white. Even today, it's majority white. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, with all that around you, all of Redford pretty much not being, well, majority of Redford, you know, being people of color.
Yeah.
You know. So certain institutions of white privilege remain
in that mix.
Right. And that was my first encounter of, like, institutionalized white privilege, because remember, like, all of my signatures of black power were throughout the whole process, right? You got Richard Austin, not that I knew it, but at the time Richard Austin was Secretary of State. I see his name more than I saw Governor Blanchard, right?
Yeah.
Coleman A. Young, you know what I'm saying? John Conyers, you know what I'm saying? So so many folks, like black patriarchs in politics, that's all you know.
And that's you know? During that time when we were younger, Detroit had 3 congressional seats.
That's what I'm saying.
So you had John Conyers, you had Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, and you had Barbara Rose Collins. You know, which things, as we've just looked at, more redistricting, but a lot of redistricting took place since then. But you know, it was a different feel. So that's why when I even ask about, like, Redford, because I can only imagine what that feel was like. And then I'm assuming kind of like the similar stories I hear to over here, like where you say, like, okay, we were like one of the first black families, and then we looked up 2 years later, it was nothing but black folks.
It's the crew, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like by the time I'm ready to graduate, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, I can go to college, like, yeah, you know, most of us black. You know what I'm saying? Or at least, like, it's enough black folks around there for you to realize that you should have more power in your community than you do. And that, like, the police is real extra. And the police coming from the other side of town and you on the right side of town. It don't make sense for you for them to roll up on you like that. And you technically on the right side of town. Like, if you was in a white city, if you was white, you'd be on the right side of town and they wouldn't be bothering you.
Yeah. So,
like, when we first moved over there, like, they had, we can cuss, or some old bullshit, like city assessor or whatever, right? Coming by the house and they're going to say, well, how many guns you got in the house? So my dad, you know, from the South, like, for real, like for real.
They have 10, you know.
But no, I mean, his attitude, he knew what it was. You know what I'm saying? I know why you even over here asking me that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This the new neighbor assessment, right?
Yeah.
Like, shit, I don't know. Let me go count. You know what I'm saying? That's the response. How long you gonna wait?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the response. So, like, having a dad like that and having folks in my life like that who used to dealing with, you know, that kind of response from a white dude on the field, because Tommy and John was both sharecroppers. So, like, you know, you understand, like, half the shit that 90% of the shit you make, you ain't gonna keep. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't make no sense. Most people ain't used to working like that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's deep. So, even when we get into that, like, you know, I know also football was a big part of what you did. Why you think you took to football? And then that kind of goes later on, like, you being a father now, how you feel about football, you know. How did you take to football?
Puberty, man. You know how that go. You're a young man, you're trying to get the energy out, and but it made sense. I realized that, you know what I'm saying, I could think it through in football. Football make you think, and you got to think quick. The thrill of being a leader on the field. Yeah. I played baseball throughout my younger years, but I never had a school that actually had a football program. So I really wasn't introduced to organized football till high school anyway. Yeah. So I got there, man. I dove into it, bro. Like, man, like, I'm 5'3", bro. In 9th grade, I was 5'3", 135 pounds. I graduated college, man. I mean, when I got to college, I was barely 6 feet. I didn't hit my growth spurt until my freshman year.
Yeah.
So, recruits was looking at me like my junior year, like, all right, I'm doing crazy numbers. I was playing center, dog, and weak side linebacker. I'm like 5'7", dog, like 155, smacking them. But the thing is, like, we play our crossover game, and guys that was playing the same position as me had 30 pounds. Easy. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to compete in that space. And then, but going to the camps, all that kind of stuff, like, my parents didn't know nothing about all that. You know what I'm saying?
Because, I mean, you got old school parents.
It was, you just got to be a dog out there. You know what I'm saying? That was my dad attitude. You just got to be a dog out there. So I was a dog in practice. You can ask my coaches. I was a leader in the field. When we had tape, I knew what I had to do on the tape, and I just soaked it all up like a sponge. And yeah, man, I mean, that's football. What I learned from football and playing team sports governs a lot of my life right now.
That's deep.
That's facts.
And that's why I asked that question, because I do think that some of that collaboration and understanding and even knowing the scheme, like you say, if somebody's bigger, that doesn't mean quit. That just means you have to determine other angles of how to make sure that it becomes your weakness becomes your advantage.
Exactly.
So college, Eastern Michigan, I know that, but I'm revealing that.
Well, that's where all the fun was.
Yeah, I mean, but Eastern, like I tell a lot of people, and it's so unique because with the work that I'm doing now and connect with a lot of people, I've done some good work with Grand Valley, and I've connected with U of M and State and a lot of them. And then they'll always say, like, how do we get more black students here? How do we get more black students? Wayne State's even asking, how do we get more black students here? And I'm like, I don't know what Eastern's doing per se, but Eastern Michigan, at one point in time, it was like a place where black students just slowly was like, I'm going to Eastern.
Yeah.
Like, and especially, like, I think that you were probably like in the middle class. Like, it'd be certain times on Eastern's campus, I'd say probably from like 2000 to 2010, where you would
90s,
think
the late 90s to about
late 90s. Yeah, it like you would think like it was almost like, man, am I gonna see some white people? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, Eastern was so Eastern benefited a lot from a couple of things, right?
Okay.
One being like trio programs, right? State funding, the Rosa Parks, Chavez, and King programs that provide like the money for people to do outreach to, you know what I'm saying, the top tier schools in urban cities. So like, yeah, it would mean so many of my homies from Cass was like, I'm going to Eastern, because like Eastern was there. And like, so when you got folks that, and I did transfer to Eastern for one. Like, they wasn't on my map. Like, I went to the workout with them. I went to workouts at Wayne State, Michigan State. I didn't even apply to U of M because I figured it was too white for me. And then but this is what I ended up doing. So I go to Bishop Borges High School, and I'm in the waiver and all that other stuff with the NCAA, like clearinghouse and everything else. And I got a whole bunch of Division III letters because, like, once again, like, I'm not height
the
yet.
size.
I didn't get height until my freshman year. So my freshman year, the transfer, it would now be the transfer portal, but the transfer space was like, what's up? So I'm at Defiance College in Ohio my freshman year. I'm the backup strong safety. I started the last game, ready to. If I stay there, I'm on track. But then at the same time, like, my mom, when I started school, my mom's had her first run of breast cancer. So I'm like, man, I need to get back home. And I'm on this campus with like 1,500 people. I didn't want to go to college and have the same experience I had in high school. You know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of white people, ain't but 30 of us black, whatever. So transfer to Eastern, and like, I had the time to think about it myself. I started my own internship at Abercon Associates in my major, which is management information systems. So like, when you in Division III school, like, you gonna go to class. So, but you get all the benefits as if you D1. So I had to take business statistics, but I had a tutor, so it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm learning computers and plus business, and I got a minor in labor economics. So I'm like, all right, well, let me go ahead and just see what I'm gonna do at Eastern. So anyway, kicking it through, I got an internship, and I'm like, do I really need to be getting up at 4:30 in the morning because I don't have housing? So I gotta drive up to Eastern, go work out, maybe walk on. I'm smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and just enroll. I'll see y'all in August. If it's looking like something, then I got a year red shirt anyway. I can figure it out. Man. I got other things.
Okay.
So it was just like, whatever, we're just going to do the school thing. I'm making money. And then 9/11 happened. So then, like that, the next day is my birthday. 9/12 is my birthday. So the NAACP have a meeting on campus talking about what's going on. I'm in there spouting all the stuff I done read, like all the stuff that my parents been piped into me, like, and they look here like, man, who is he, man? All right, and you know how like when you come in there with the challenge, most folks not gonna tell you to sit down. They gonna try to get you a space to funnel that energy into.
Yeah.
And they gave me one. It was like, you need to come and get involved. And I paid my membership. And after that, here we go.
And when you speak of that, like your story, and this is where I kind of pick up knowing more of your story. Like this is from, people always say that you must be prepared for opportunity, and you don't know when it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like it took years for you to have that understanding and that real life practical understanding, even from a young age, to respond to things more than you would expect the average college student, especially, like sophomore in college, to just be able to be like, all right, bam, 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 bam. Nah, that don't make no sense, because this is what we want. Just raw energy and charisma, but packaging it where people understand, but you're giving them more. And you captured that, and that connected you to the NAACP, and or as we'll say, the org.
Yeah, the org,
and that became an opportunity. And I already know a lot of my Detroit's different watchers are like, I hate the NAACP. Look,
I know, right? They could be like, man,
I already know that. Now,
well, you know what? So let me be fair.
Okay.
Let me be fair. So,
yeah.
So John Tuggle don't get enough like honor in this conversation right now. So like he introduced me to like black progressive like thought by introducing me to Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, right? And put me in that space of seeing Dr. Adams, you know what I'm saying, his thank you appreciate guy's like 10 million hits, man. I've seen that live so many times, like, and it give you chills when it's live, you know what I'm saying? So like that's the person I'm hearing like Sunday in, Sunday out, from like 11 till I'm 16. You understand?
Why do you think they connected with Hartford, especially being from, knowing those roots?
You know why?
Wow.
Hartford Memorial Baptist Church had a program to help folks get their GED in a literacy program. So my dad heard about Hartford. He went there to Hartford to make sure he polished up on his reading. They helped him get his literacy exam done so he can go back to Chrysler. So now he got his second job back at Chrysler. He had to go back and reapply. Okay, and then they helped him get his mechanic's license. So now he a tow truck driver with a certification doing brakes.
Now, I want y'all. He just dropped some game. If the people aren't watching, because I know a lot of people watch now that sometimes are connected to programs and stuff. I'm gonna be calling a couple of y'all soon. But he just said, first off, if you want to reach out to kids, you have to get in the schools. That was one gem he said about Eastern. The difference between a lot of the other schools, they're not actually immersed in the schools. And he also just gave a gem for the churches too. The church offer, which this is always a deeper discussion with all the pastors. I know they always say, like, do we help the flock? Meaning, do we have programs for people inside the church, or do we have programs for people outside the church? If you're progressively thinking, the outside the church person is going to become the inside the church person as you have something tangible that connects to the people.
So check this out. So third Sunday, my dad driving the church bus because now he on the deacon board.
Wow.
So who on the church bus with him on Sunday morning? Me. Who hopping in out the church, out the church van with the crate, helping the ladies get out the van over at the Senior Towers over there on 7 Mile in Evergreen. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't even understand like where I really am. But I understand this service. This is what you're supposed to do. I was an altar boy over there at Hartford. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and then they had, when they started the African Center programs, like I remember when they started them joints. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and my dad applied. So, like, we had to do this whole, like, little joint or whatever. I didn't make that one, but I was in one of the Black History Month programs. So, my dad was like, he tells me about this a lot now, and I don't really remember it when it happened. I just know I had to do a speech. and it was about like what you want to be. He was like, no, then you said you want to be a senator.
Wow.
And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, like, and I was like, yep. And everybody there was like, no, like,
it can happen.
yeah, it can happen. So I was like, all right. So then, like, that's where all of that like, no, what black consciousness and thought is. Then at Bishop Borges, like, our religion teacher was one of the few black priests in the city, Father Lunnan. So like James Lunnan, I think his first name. Anyway, so like he telling us about consciousness, and he used to point at the back wall and say, like, you see that whole wall, that's the Bible. And it was literally every book of the Bible, like in its actual book form, not in the condensed version that you have. And he was like, you got to understand, that's my understanding of the Bible. They gave it to you like this. Mine is this.
Yeah.
So if anything, just come on in here and try to immerse as much of this as you can. And so, like, one of the books that we was learning about was like about colorism in the Bible, and like how Shakespeare wrote King James. So then leave that alone, and then start talking about like black presence in the Bible, and like where Africa lives in the Bible. So I'm learning that. I'm 15, 16.
Wow.
So like, okay, so having that kind of center, not even being connected with like the Black Pan-African Church and the Black Nationalist Church in the city, but it's just prevalent in the city, Trey. That's what we really need to help people understand. Like it's just in the soil,
and that's and it's unique that that's connected. So now we're gonna forward back to Easter, and you're in this meeting. After you give your words, what happens there?
Yo, so like I understand. So at that point, like, I become the political action chair, and for the next couple of months, like, I start to understand more about Wardo Connolly and his attacks on like U of M Michigan and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, dang, like I was applying at the time, like not like for graduate school, but I was applying for undergrad at the time, right? And I'm like, dang, like just hearing some of those things helped me to understand more like folks' attitude towards me when I was in high school at political debates. That's why I first started doing that kind of stuff. So now in this space, I'm hearing about like, affirmative action, what it means to the city, what it means to people. I really start to see in voter registration, like really what it's about, right? Like going out with the forms, having a box of them in your trunk all the time, all that kind of stuff, learning what nonviolent, like proactive organizing is. I'm at the trainings every other week, every other month, like regional training, stuff like that. And when you're a young person in that space, it's easy to let that space fill your time. Okay?
Explain that.
So think about it, right? Like if you are working, you ain't working for a whole bunch of money, but you're probably working a whole bunch of hours. And if your job allows you now, see, this is different from like, back in the day when if you was working at the newspaper, you know what I'm saying? Like it'd be fruitful for you being in the movement because you could slide a couple reams of paper back. No, now I'm working at IT, dog. So like if it's something that needs to be done as far as like getting information digitally, I know how to do it. I'm in a whole different space now. So like when it talks about how many voters in the city, what the census say, we ain't got to wait until the white man come in and do the whole presentation and give you the paper and print off 100,000 reams and you go sit down and study it. I'm about to go put up on the spreadsheet and analyze it. Then this is the early 2000s. So you don't have a lot of people of color in that space, period. Plus the movement ain't thinking like that. So you got a lot of challenges. But at the same time, like you got all this need. So I was one of the few people to serve more than 2 terms in the Youth and College Division as a state leader. Normally, like, you'd be like 20 and, you cycle out. I graduate with a degree in labor economics and computer information systems. So that's a bachelor's of business administration. And then so like we lose in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decides that affirmative action race should not be a major factor in college admission decisions and exams and studies, and also in contractual decisions, right? State contractual decisions. So now, like, you're in this space where you watching something. So Operation Breadbasket, a lot of people talk about Martin Luther King, but they don't talk about Operation Breadbasket. So Operation Breadbasket was the beginning of Affirmative Action, right? It was founded and birthed in Chicago, I believe, with Mr. Jackson, right? Jesse Jackson. And Nixon was like, yeah, this should make sense, right? If you openly like make an effort just to reach out to black folks and brown folks and people of color, like, you're going to get a wider pool of applicants. You might get a better return on your money. So Nixon makes it a federal initiative, affirmative action. We're going to affirm our action, okay? That's a legal term, meaning that you're not just going to say you're going to do something or do it half-heartedly. You're going to take steps to make sure that your intentions follow your action. So it's affirmative. That's what that means. So now people can make half-hearted attempts and do things for you contractually, like community block grants from banks, right? And say, well, there's no need to follow up and follow through. You don't need to count how many people of color, got these grants because I don't need to do it anymore. Yeah. You understand? So, so that's the space I'm in, right? I can get more information, and I'm in a space with matriarchs and patriarchs who've been doing this for 20, 30 years. So you're learning a lot. They got to learn a lot. The industry's growing a lot, and it's a weird space because, like, at the same time, like InfoWars and Alex Jones, like, I'm up at Eastern Michigan, so I'm not here in Detroit organizing politics. I'm out here in Michigan. Yeah, and so we would see InfoWars stickers all over the place around campus. Alex Jones made $100 million. In politics.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. I mean, so, some of, and this is you guys are about to get a classic me and Jessup back and forth, or BJ as we always say, Way and BJ. So it's like my perspective is always the content perspective. Yeah, like some of the packaging and content, InfoWars, and what he's done with how he built his propaganda. Like, Lord knows, the propensity of a lot of what we would consider reality stretches, but also it's like a lot of other things, like a lot of tricks. Like, some of it's like, I mean, I think I definitely know I attribute the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. I attribute a lot of him enlightening me and a lot of other people to, like, who the hell Jeffrey Epstein was. And I couldn't. I was shocked.
I was like, who is this dude?
Now, with it also comes another one of those things in deceiving, because at that point in time, he was one of the most, as he would always say, and even these talking points, what a neocon is, the globalist, what's
neoliberal.
Neoliberals.
Yeah.
He would speak to, definitely, he was one of the biggest anti-Bush, W. Bush people there were. Yeah. So it galvanizes, being black, it was like, yeah, I'm anti-W.
That's
you
right.
know what I'm saying?
That's right.
It galvanized a lot of attention to follow what was happening with Alex Jones. But continue. That's all.
And that was one of the few sources where you could get a non-mainstream point of view about the Middle East.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and not saying like that was a source of good information for me. Most of it, I felt the radicalization of it, but you still realize that this nowhere near from what you're seeing from other folks. Remember, there's no MSNBC at this time, right?
No.
There's really no Fox. Well, Fox News is banging,
they
but they
were starting with Bill O'Reilly. It was more like, and then also it was, like I was talking about this earlier in the interview, like critical thinking skills. Like, you have to be able to decipher a lot of different types of information from different angles, even misinformation, to have an understanding of how and why. So, like, yes, Kari Frazier, I've sat and watched more QAnon than most of you all would probably give a damn to ever care about, because I want to know the programming
what's going on,
of how this messaging is being sent to the people that are following this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I just sit in a silo and say, like, hey, that kid just shot some people on live TV, so he deserves to go to jail. I need to understand who is the group of people that are taking all their life savings and giving this money to this crazy ass kid, Kyle Rittenhouse? You know what I'm saying? I need to understand that. You know, that's me knowing media. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you know, you got a certain level of black consciousness where you can understand the vigilantism that all of that represented, right?
That too.
Like,
yeah.
There's no way I can cross state lines and take that type of action and not feel like I'm a vigilante.
Yeah.
Right. So where have you heard of a person or a man of color moving and just going down to Kentucky and being able to take that action on behalf of Breonna Taylor? Couldn't think of it.
Oh shit.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, man, so like the space, you know, opens up, bro. You know what I'm saying? In a whole lot of different spaces. So like now, you know, going on and we in this talking about you graduating and like Kwame came up to Eastern talking about like Eastern's influence.
Cause you got is this before he was
this
mayor?
is 03. This is like when he was running for the first.
When he was running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so when he's talking about he was everywhere, yeah, like we heard about Kwame. Yeah, he was up there.
Mm-hmm.
He started having a whole bunch of candidates trying to do it the next like 10 years. Like, I remember folks talking about like other candidates from here in the latter years, like trying to do it, but they ain't had no energy. You know, they didn't have Kwame's energy. Like, Kwame had that energy. And so you seeing that coming up there, and like, yeah, for young black men in politics, like, yes, like that's inspiring. It's inspiring to say you from Detroit at that time, right? It's inspiring to be a young Democrat coming out of Michigan at that time. You got Karen Lee Kirkpatrick. She gave me my first pair of house cufflinks. You know what I'm saying? Like, just cool people. And so like, and not having to be, so a lot of people think like you got to be part of some circle. Ain't nobody know my family like that. You know what I'm saying? I was just in the right spaces to learn things. And so like, and once again, like my parents are sharecroppers. Okay. So like all that, you know, knowing the right people know is, you know, just God's blessing. Mm-hmm. So like, so now, you know, come to Detroit. I'm trying to find a job.
Yeah.
My internship, they hired me full time, but then they laid me off. The housing market bubble is bursting, but we don't understand it. It's just a whole bunch of orange tags on people's doors. Mm-hmm. All right. And I get a call from one of my mentors. He's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And I ain't understand, like, when an old OG call you and say, "Hey, what you doing?" That mean you need to be figuring out, like, you need to come get some clothes on and come get this money. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, I need you to go talk to this person about this job. And I end up on my first campaign job with One United Michigan to defend against like Ward O'Connolly and his ballot initiative called the Michigan Civil Rights Initiative. You know, falsely branded, saying, and you talk about agents acting against you like in broad daylight. You know, so this is one of those actions. And now with the internet, you know, being 15 years older, so this is like right at the beginning of Twitter, right? You know, all that kind of stuff. So when people are getting their news, they're going to get it from like really funky websites.
Now, I want you to also open up and share about this too, because you know, me through truck driving, I've traveled most of the state, but it's still different because I'm going in a store, you know, and out of store. You've actually engaged throughout the whole state of Michigan. Explain a little bit of some of the differences in, let's not even talk white folk. Yeah. Explain some of the differences in the black folk throughout the state, because Detroit black, and I love all y'all. I'm talking about Kazoo, Grand Rapids, Flint for show. Even the people up in it's funny because like Flint people look at the way Detroiters sometimes look at Flint look at Saginaw, but even Sag Nasty, all of it. I love all of y'all, but it's just like a different rhythm. It seems like. Can you explain some of that and how you you know, because mobilizing and organizing in some of those spaces and for good reason, for safety reasons, it's different.
I think so. I always been a fan of understanding what checking in really mean.
That's
right.
Deep.
You know what I'm saying? Like what it really mean. Like so, my dad, you know, we would drive down to Tennessee for like their homecoming, and like before you get there, you make a phone call, make sure where you headed to. Everybody, you know you headed down there. They know you're gonna be coming to receive you. And one of the first things I learned to organize was that, like, hey, if you're gonna be going up somewhere, like, make sure the people that you expecting to see know you coming. And if they can't make it, whatever, like politically, it's good culture, right, to have someone receive somebody if they come out of town, especially black people. Okay, so that's the point, like, because you couldn't travel freely. Okay, so people had to be expecting you. That's the look the NAACP's kind of like back channel knowledge. You don't just show up somewhere, because if you really doing this work, people gonna be trying to kill you when they see you. So you need to be doing this, working in security. So like, yeah, like if you thinking about Medgar Evers, and if you really about it like that, yep. When you show up to Howell, Michigan, you know what I'm saying, and you making a stop, and you on your way to Lansing, the Lansing NAACP need to know that they need to be expecting you in an hour, and if they don't see you in an hour, they need to be calling somebody. So you need to operate like that. So checking in is in that space. When I'm going to Flint, like, or to some black communities, man, like, you know what, like if you live out west, the blends of class are more gray. The lines of class are more gray. You know what I'm saying? The more west you go,
the western side of the state.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like you can be making 40 grand and be fine. You can really live, then, and or you can make the state average, which is like 55 grand, to be kind of cool. It's just, like when you on the east, like, yeah, like it's just getting around and bumping around and doing things in the cities like Flint. It's just cost more. The corridors 94, 75, and 96, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's your industrial corridors, right? So, like, the way that I think about it is that when I'm on 96, I'm understanding that, like, I'm going out west. My end point is Grand Rapids. Who out there in Grand Rapids is way more like brown in Grand Rapids than anything. You know what I'm saying? That feel like downriver half the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, but so that's it. I think it's more about, like, just the class is more defined in some spaces. Like in Lansing, is very well defined.
Very much so.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So.
Very much so. Like the first thing I remember going to Lansing, I was like, damn, Malcolm X was here. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it's like.
But see, so you got to think. Yeah, but that's 1912.
Yeah.
Like what kind of the politics was real local then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not that now. Like lobbyists aren't acting the way they were then, and like black folks don't have access to the political space like that then. So it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, because I've even, like, I've gone on trips with you to different places, and you've even said, like, look, it's just different here. Because, like, in Detroit, because, you come from a Detroit background, it's like, look, we can just do this,
like,
that.
Nah.
And it's like, nah, you got to really permit. You got to really, like, these good old boys are looking to shut down everything.
Well, and, like, and this ain't your house. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta you gonna leave tomorrow. So what's gonna happen tomorrow night?
Yeah,
they're gonna be looking for the folks who let you get the access to do X. So like, if that's the reality in some spaces, or and really like you start to realize too, like how many like the influence of the nonprofit industrial complex in certain spaces as to why certain communities can't get action. Okay, and in smaller cities, it's way more prevalent, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you don't have a lot of commercial investment in some cases. So, things that come, it move quick, and it's right there in your face. So you do have to act in respect to people's livelihood and their sustainability if you ain't willing to replace it.
Yeah, and then even like those cities like Muskegon or Benton Harbor, where like one industry, like one business basically will.
Right. That's
everything.
Yeah, and it's by whatever happened, right? So then you go into those real constructs of like, all right, well, how do we build better like centers of commerce, like the stuff that we talked about a long time. We always talk about like how you like the model of the studio. You know what I'm saying? So like, so then when you can have that freedom. So I've never had as much freedom in my life until now as an organizer, right? Because I'm in a space I make a way good wage, but then also on top of that, I'm in a community where like I can access the levels of political power, and the people around me can access it in the same way. So from there, in working in this space,
you know, and so much is definitely transition where it's added. What do you when you take a snapshot of things politically? Because even Detroit is different. Detroit has changed so much.
Detroit is different, ain't it?
You know, I remember myself, like, just so that you all kind of get a bigger picture of kind of like our crew of like what I would say, like young black male leaders, like 2000, like let's say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it'd be like me, you, Reverend Bullock, David Alexander Bullock, Reverend Charles Williams.
We gotta pull that flyer up.
Donnell White, Ajane Cheeks. Like it would be some of us, Kamal, you know, Yusef. I know I'm forgetting some other people, but like one of the things we would often talk about, and right now I feel like that shadow's kind of not as cast, but with what happened to Mayor Kilpatrick, it seemed to be like a large shadow that just loomed on a lot of Detroit, A. B, a lot of what black political power was, but C, and this was something that we all spoke about, young black male leadership being looked at like, what's going on? Because even like, oh, I forgot Cartwright at the Woodward at the time. Like we would like bumping into each other like, yo, because people were looking at us as if, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, everything was, you know, the sky was falling and we all were like guilty by association for something that I personally really think was not what, but here nor there. But
we ain't gotta go there.
You know, but things have changed. But at that time to now, what do you think has changed? And were we tripping to think that did exist? Was that like our own bias? You know, give me some feedback on that.
I mean, it's mad bias, super bias, but it also exposed something that we didn't have in our political communities, which was like systems that would allow us to support ourselves politically, right? Like you got to have donor bases. That's not just based off of what white corporate people will give you. And so like when people will see like, well, Penske and them going to take such out, why are you waiting until that happen? And it's not about setting up the fund to get them out of jail. Right. So remember, this is 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010, 11.
Yeah.
Citizens United passed when?
I don't even know.
So Citizens United comes out, right, and it changes the way that you do political funding, right? Like federal levels.
Yeah.
Okay. But it allows corporations to develop PACs, right, to pretty much just blindly just, you know, put a whole bunch of money into the political system, right? So, folks, and we all say, well, look at all these people who's done far worse now, like George, whatever, the guy.
The guy right now, Santos.
That was my street name back in the day in Defiance. Anyway, so guys like him can totally mislead an entire community, right?
He's misled many communities.
You know what I'm saying? Let's just look at the 749,000 people that will represent that live in that district.
Yeah.
So people can go forth and do that, okay? And it's a challenge to the morality because New York doesn't have a recall policy. Like, you can't just start a petition and recall somebody in New York. It's got to be the governor has to, like, literally write a decree and recall that person, okay? So you see someone who's literally manipulating the system, all right? They know this, all right? They run a Ponzi scheme in the financial center of the United States, the financial center of the world, New York. They run a Ponzi scheme. And then they show $700,000 on the receipt, and then they automatically start running a campaign, okay? So all of this in so many ways is okay because you ran federally, okay? You can start to watch things in a whole different kind of way and like, hey, who's watching? He's white, right? And so, like, the same thing, like, so all of these levers and opportunities have been opened up for white politicians to maneuver democracy in many ways, to become president, to get to Congress, to, you know, be sitting on the Supreme Court, and even let white women do it the same way. When you think about the last woman that Trump appointed that we knew nothing about,
Yeah, I forget that lady's name, and she took that position like, I swear, like at the height of COVID. I want to say
they slid her
President
right on
Trump contracted COVID like at her
little bar.
Yeah,
her little
at her,
thing,
like,
her kicking session.
yeah.
We just gonna call it a kicking session. Yeah.
Whatever.
Everybody shaking hands. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Yeah.
So you see like how, like, once again that was the height of racism. Like at the end of the day, like, yeah, all of that was an example of white privilege and white power, political power, right?
Yeah.
That's what all of that was. And so what do you fight that with? Most community members decry the effort, and they decry the agents in that effort because it's a shame that there was nothing to rebut it. Why are you going to leave his mama by himself to fight all of that politically? Shame on y'all, Black Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So many different ways. It is not about like the protests and things like that. He fighting in court. So all this is about money. Mm-hmm. So you do it in a city that's financially strapped, going through bankruptcy right now,
which I still question.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we all felt that political attack. We were all under attack for like 6-7 years, right? Yeah. And so, you know, and even now, like, we still under political attack when you think about Black male political agency, you know what I'm saying, this space. Now with redistricting, like, yeah, you represent, like my buddy, my homie, man, he represents me now in the state house. Mm-hmm. And it's cool. And one of the things that we would say in reflection would be like, dang, we wish it could just be all Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, so. I know, like, so even when I see, you know, and God knows, I mean, hopefully, you know, everything, people make mistakes, but even like the Jewel Jones, like all summer. And I'm thinking to myself, like, boy, this is like that infamy stuff. I mean, I had a post where they were showing J. Rue Campbell, where I'm like, this is just, to me, like, you know, if we can only live in infamy, you know, even though I'm laughing at it, like right now, the rapper Keith Murray and stuff. So it's crazy interviews, but
man,
it's almost like,
but yeah.
But it's almost like it's not a premise in a reality where I see, you know, like all of the things, and I know people that run with Jewel and a lot of the stuff he's doing in Inkster and stuff. None of the programming that he has will get him on Fox 2.
You understand what I'm saying?
For something that is productive, empowering of the people, and engaging. You know what I'm saying? Bad stint back and forth. You know, drinking and drinking is a part of American culture, as far as I'm concerned. It exists, and that gets him more exposure, and his name and I'm gonna use the 3 name, image, and likeness in the mix of the message that's being presented.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I think it stings more when it's some of your homies. You know what I'm saying? Folks that you see out and about. You know, it becomes a bit more personal. You can feel it. It's there's a lot of things that we just know, like, white folks don't have to pay the same price. Like Dana White with his wife.
Oh man,
all right.
Talk about it. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like so it's stuff like that we just know, understand, and it hurts when we slip. We had a moments when we slip up and we get caught, and then socially and politically and community based, we got to pay the price for it. You understand?
And it's ripples in dominoes is when we think about what that Kilpatrick administration did, because it's going to impact more than just that one figure. It's going to impact so many other things and initiatives that are going to be connected.
How did it really impact us, right? How did it really impact us? Like, do you really think, dog? Like, so let's say Mr. Kilpatrick just doesn't leave the mayor's office.
Yeah.
And
because I really do think he would have been. I don't see a candidate, especially knowing his skills for speaking.
But we also assume that everybody want to sit here for 20 years and do the same thing. Like that ain't reality.
Yeah.
And like, you talking about somebody who is not like a forerunner in political space. He's the heir of political space. So he easily could have been like running for Senate and could be the senior senator. So think about this, okay? The current chair of the Democratic Senate campaign is Gary Peters from Michigan, okay? He just held it all down last year, and he's going to be ready to keep moving next year, into 2024. So think about it. Think about it, right? He would have, but Kwame in prison, so he can't run for U.S. Senate in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Okay? So why would the mayor of the city of Detroit, who was so let's think, like, he doesn't go to jail, banging, he fighting us through, pushing us through this whole thing about bankruptcy, helping us guide us through this whole thing. You mean to tell me that he doesn't win, okay, for the city, for the U.S. Senate and becomes a junior senator? Okay, so then now when Debbie Stabenow decides that she's about to finally retire 10 years later, he naturally will be the senior, and he'd be in his 50s. And so you talk about someone having a career length of, a James Clyburn.
30, 25.
Yeah. Oh, no. We're talking about in your 50s going to the Senate.
Yeah.
Man, look, it's senators 90 years old almost,
yeah,
brother.
I was going to say.
Yeah, right. So these guys get old. So you're talking about maybe another 30 years.
Yeah.
Governing. So
especially knowing the way that, and I still feel like, I was in Conyers district most of my life, but I look at the way that Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick's district.
That's not something to get excited about politically. You know what I'm saying? That's not something to get excited about. I'm getting excited about it. Just thinking about that forecast and thinking about, what can be plowed behind all that going.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're talking about potentially. So the person that's now, okay, the chair of the Democratic Senate Committee comes from Michigan, sits and not in the seat as if it would have automatically happened and Kwame would be there. But politically, nationally, Michigan holds a lot of space. Michigan has a lot of seniority, okay, in the Senate. And because, for one, we're the only border crossing in the continent, okay, that's majority by land. Okay, that's one of the top 5 crossings in the world.
Yeah, it's
all
the
right?
busiest port. Yeah.
All right, so we only do it on 2 lanes. We jamming all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So these are the things we talk about, like, economically, like how we work, and like some of the things that we don't do because like our community is in a space where we aren't demanding and really controlling the capital that we have economically and in our skill sets as a labor force in the United States.
That's deep.
So,
That's deep, man. You just took us there. Man, because, I often, so many things I think shake out differently. And when we think of now hitting that corner, and like you're right, because right now when I think of really just black political leadership. But then especially when you think of young black male political leadership, that's like damn near almost damn near non-existent.
So now,
from a place that in my mind was like a breeding ground.
So guess what? Who's the top black candidate to possibly, challenge for Debbie Stabenow's seat? John James, Republican. So how all the traditional black power that comes from John Conyers is going to even try to absorb that conversation? They not. So now, do we continue to do what we've been doing for the last 2 censuses? We flood a district with 20 candidates.
Yeah.
I call it hubris. And I say this because if your community can't support the fielding of that many candidates running successful campaigns, meaning that they turn out a real portion of the vote, they actually try to do such, they putting organizers on the ground, they putting stuff in the mail, they ain't just sitting there holding up space on the ballot, okay? Then you get turnout in primaries of 30, 40, 50, 60% because all of those parties are pushing and bringing people out. They bringing the awareness up. You can't have primaries with 15, 16 people in them, and they only talk about their candidacy when someone asks them to. Y'all just a bunch of real estate agents. Real talk.
Yeah, we had a and one of us says when we think young black male, and you were right, because I was like, yeah, man, I think Adam's probably more than likely going to be a shoe-in. He has some business support. I've seen him pound the pavement. You were like, nah, I don't see it. And I was like, I mean, he pounding the pavement, man. Like, and he, you know, you were like, nah, I don't see it.
It ain't there.
You
It
know?
ain't there. And like, so like, yeah, so, you know, being an organizer, right, and like, so in that basement, you know what I'm saying, over at the church,
Yeah.
we talking about, you know, repealing Michigan's emergency manager law. That's from coming out of Kwame, because it ain't all the political power, it's a vacuum. So everything that we doing is doing it on the ground, like literally counting it up. You know what I'm saying, getting it out. You know, you can say it's out the mud, but it ain't. You know, it's political.
Yeah.
But we generating the buzz about this being some BS. So same thing with campaigns. Like, you can't run for a federal seat the year of the seat. People have to know you.
You have to really.
You know what I'm saying?
I've been saying that if you want to be in office, you need to start the day after the person the spot you want gets elected. You must, because it takes a lot of buy-in. First, you got to get your family and your friends to buy in, because, and I mean, you've run, like, running is taxing on a collective. It's way more than just you. And if you don't really have that right buy-in, I mean, it's been divorces. Men have lost wives
and women.
Women have lost husbands. You know what I'm saying? Children
Marjorie Taylor Greene going through a divorce right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man.
So
it can get real. So you need that first, your core support. Then outside of your core support, you need to have some lieutenants that already know where you coming from. Like you know what I'm saying? Straight up. Next go, it's like you need people that you can call. Like, hey, I need a, and it's like
people, right? Because you running a business.
Yeah.
And so now, right, like and you see it, like, the things that I've learned in my career is, like, the things that get people to turn out is, like, do they recognize what you're trying to do, and do they respect your brand? You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's just that. So, like, yeah, you can be already in office.
Yeah.
And they be like, okay, cool, I like you for that job, I don't like you for this one. You know,
and then
like,
furthermore, your brand, now I'm getting in my media world, your brand has to match who you are.
You know what I'm saying?
So meaning, like, and the better it fits, the more it's just impactful. As I definitely see the Democratic Party's putting a lot of juice behind Hakeem Jeffries right now. I'm still getting my understanding of what that is. I mean, I saw him do the rhyme thing, but I'm I'm going to need, like, I'm sure he's going to wait for a moment where it's like, okay, now I can, step into whatever that representation is.
He got to be Speaker of the House to do that.
Maybe.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, that's 2 years in the waiting.
Yeah.
So now, okay, it comes to, like, are you going to introduce student loan forgiveness in the light of all these Supreme Court challenges all the challenges that these Republicans putting up, talking about fairness, talking about people who make it $250K, should be included the exemptions, right? Like, it's all these types of things. It's about, okay, Hakeem, like, you're doing great, right? You out of New York, okay? The Black Farmers of America, right, got $5 billion in relief that's been on waiting since 2020. Okay, this is COVID relief that's been tied up in the courts. Okay, about white farmers. We're talking about some of the folks that when you go to the store, they the only thing on the shelf. Okay, they trying to keep us, our cousins, and things like that from even putting more of the fruit that they can in from them. See, they don't even want you to be the source. All right, and so this $5 billion. Just to plant seeds. Now, how many groceries do that make in these cities? Okay, you talk about pipelines and making sure you got stores and stuff like that. That's the seed for it. But guess what? I can't find a Democrat that's going to raise that to the national level. Yeah. Black farmers can't find Democrats to raise it to the national level. So how did that help us? Guess what? It go up the I-75 corridor. Them truckers, you got black truckers right now who up here, they watching their hours being cut and they rates by the hour being cut because inflation going down. Okay? So all this COVID retraction is happening. Okay? So now if them lows get low, then they ain't got to make as many trips. Then they got to get a business. Okay, so fine. If you're gonna lower the cost per mile, fine. I still need to be rolling.
Yeah.
So you got the bottleneck squeezing us still. Still. So like, yeah, COVID's done, and the majority of the activity going on right now in this city is based off of judicial activity. People going to jail for guns, people getting locked up for financial crimes.
That's deep.
You got to fix that.
That's deep. That's deep. And we definitely going on that. We gonna bring you back, man. I may need you back at least like twice a year.
And we just chop it up. We bring
that
that urban economic forum back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we gonna definitely have some more stuff.
Yeah.
As Detroit is Different has some more forums, and it's definitely gonna include Mr. Jessup, as you all see, like how we bounce back and forth, and y'all see some of the people that I run with. So classic Detroit is Different questions at the end.
What up?
Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Oh man. Okay. To tell the truth, my very first car, 90 Dodge Dynasty. I got it. 98. Yeah, I got it 98.
Okay,
yeah.
First place you went when you got it.
Shit, to school.
Okay, hey, that's the best place to go. That's the best place to go.
Yeah, because like, so they needed suspension in the back. So first of all, I was kind of salty about it. I was like, dog, man, how you gonna hit me with the bull hoopty? And my dad was like, you got to fix it. I was like, man, you got to get your job fixed. I'm working at McDonald's, right? Like, man, I ain't. And then like, it was the summer, so like, you know, football coming, so like, I ain't going back to work.
Yeah.
But so whatever, man. The Dynasty got me going all smooth.
There we go. DJ, end of the fireworks, you get to play one song. What song you playing?
At the fireworks downtown?
Downtown, Woodward and Jefferson, you spin it.
I'm going to go with a play at Icewood. I'm going to keep Detroit. Yeah. I might bump some Cheddar Boys just because.
Okay. And last question. You can rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. A Detroiter, bona fide Detroiter. Albert Cleed Jr.
I like it.
Yeah,
That's definitely real pro-black. I know them people like Gerald Moulder. We know what you mean. I mean, when he founded the Pan-African perspective of Christianity, that's what it was, man. Shrine of Black Madonna. That's real, man. Hell of a legacy, brother. You the first person that actually said him.
Hey, no, that's what's up. They didn't put it down. Because like, you got to think, like, a lot of stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Come from that.
Oh, all day.
You know what I'm saying? So.
All day.
You know what I'm saying? So that's 100.
Peace be.
Hey, in a minute.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.